Okay, now I'm going to attempt to take you through creating a campaign in real time. And I'm relying on a previously saved template, which hopefully you should also have access to. If the business doesn't have a template already set up, let us know as soon as possible. But there should be a standard template they've already had designed in their system. If not, we'll probably need to do a bit of work to actually design them something, and that's not something that we're expecting you to do, so just let us know if that's the case. But it should be fairly straightforward. So essentially we're going to create a new campaign, and just a regular old campaign. I've selected the test list, so we're just going to send to everyone, which is basically just me because it's just a tester. We're going to name our campaign. We're going to call it Test for Digital Mums Training. I've already got the email subject, how do you like those apples? From the Russet, it's a cafe that we're working for, and I've got a reply to me email address there. I'm just going to click next. Okay, so this is where you choose your template. So you should have a template saved in My Template. But if you were starting from scratch, you might just sort of, do an editor. But you want to be looking at this one, and if you don't have any templates set up, as I've said, let us know as soon as possible. But here you go. We're just going to click on My Templates. And as you can see, I've got a template saved in here. You might have more than one, depending. You might have slightly different newsletters for different things. So if you're not sure which one, again, just get in contact with us. We should go through that in our sort of the first week that we'll work together. So I'm just going to choose the one that we've got here. So as you can see, MailChimp has opened it up. And this is what it should look like when you open up your template. So you should have different sections. You should have a little teaser section at the top, and then you should have something that says, is this email not displaying correctly? And then you might click to view that in a website window, which I tend to do with my e-newsletters that come to me anyway, because they always look nicer when you click to view them in the website window. This tends to be at the top as well. Then you've probably got some form of branding, a logo, a strap line at the top. Then you will tend to have your lead content. This is a bit of introductory content for the cafe. Then you've usually got bite-sized chunks of information, because the best e-newsletters really don't try to duplicate the content on your website, but try to drive traffic to your website. So you might have a little snippet of text and a link, and then that drives through to the website where all the information is. You shouldn't really try to put all the information for everything into an e-newsletter, because it's it just really puts people off if they just get something which has got reams and reams and reams of text. If you think about the e-newsletters that you respond to, it's probably kind of quite touch-light on the content, little teasers that you can check out if you want more information on. So for example, this art exhibition, little teaser, that could have taken up half a page of the newsletter, and I might not be interested in that art exhibition at all, so it's a bit of wasted for me. I might be more interested in the event, but I'm going to have to scroll all the way down to get to the bottom of the e-newsletter for the event, which isn't ideal. People don't really like to. They might just kind of arrive, see the thing about the art exhibition, think, I'm not interested in that, this newsletter's not for me, and then they wouldn't engage. So it's about trying to put in as many things for different audiences as possible, and teasing people through to the website where you've got all the other information depending on what they're interested in. Someone could click on the art exhibition here, someone could click on the events. So you can see there's a couple of columns here with some other leading content. This is promoting the current art exhibition that's on at the cafe, and this is promoting some events. And then further down, you've also got more promoted content, 3 columns. This is going to be a recipe for the October newsletter for a cake. This is special October events. There's a pumpkin to signify the fact that Halloween is happening. And then this is the tapas menu. It's just to let people know. So if you look at the whole of the newsletter, the Russet, which is not just a cafe, it's a creative space, is managing to promote a current art exhibition for people that might be interested in art, and it has got followers who are interested in art. Then it's promoting its events, but it's also just promoting, kid-friendly, family-friendly stuff, and its food. So it's doing a really well-rounded job of promoting lots of bits of content. Then you get down to the bottom where you've got your social media links. I'd actually be inclined to move those up, which is something that I will probably do, and I'll showcase that in a slightly more advanced tutorial. Then you've got just a bit of info about like the mailing address, and there's usually like an unsubscribe down here as well, and update your subscription preferences. So that's the basic layout. And you can do lots of things to the design as well. So you can actually start to change the colour and the colour of the fonts, etc. But for what we're asking you to do, it's just going to be the content. And if someone is trying to get you to play around with the design, can you just come back to us? Because strictly speaking, that isn't something that would fall within your remit. You should really get a trained kind of designer to just think about the template first. That's not saying that you kind of wouldn't be qualified to do it, but I just think that when you're first starting out, you should have a template ready and it should all be set up. It should have the right colours, etc. And you really should just be expected to, promote the things that you want to promote and, use it to drive traffic to the website, etc. Rather than just be playing around with all the design. So if I wanted to edit the text for this, it's really straightforward. As soon as you hover over it, you'll see the little edit box comes up. So I'm just going to click that. And then it's just simply a case of just typing. You're just typing testing content for the newsletter. It's as simple as that, really. If you wanted to change the font, it's exactly the same icons as with Word. They try to make it as much like a Windows dashboard as possible because that's what people are used to using. So you can bold, italicize, avoid underscoring because it makes it really difficult to read online. So I would ignore that one. And you can change the colour, etc., and the font and the size. But as I've said before, that should really ideally be all set up. You can add numbered lists, bullet lists. If you wanted to add a link to the website, then you essentially just highlight the text. You press this button here. And then you put in the web address that you want it to go to, then you click insert, and it's as simple as that. It's really straightforward. And then you can change alignment of text. So it's really, really straightforward. And then you just save. So you can see that's saved. And that is basically it on editing the content. So you can see that happens again with each of the blocks. Now something that you will be expected to do is you'd have your template, but obviously you'd want to change the photos. So one of the things that you will be asked to do is to add and edit photographs. So just quickly take you through that. You can just remove it, but actually you can remove the picture or you can edit the picture. So I'm going to start again. So I'm just going to remove. And then we're going to take you through adding another photo. But if you see that we're going to want a photo that is the same size as this photo, or else the formatting would look a bit strange. So I'm just going to find out exactly how big this photo is. So it's 250 by 166. So that's something that I basically am going to want my other photo to match. So I'm just going to bear that in mind. So if you click change, it brings the file manager up, and basically you want to upload an image and you're just going to browse. So I'm just going to browse through my photographs, see which one I want to add. Let's just add that one. Click upload. So as you can see, photos arrived. Great. Now, let's might be quite tricky because actually it's not quite high enough. Because if you remember correctly, we wanted that to be 250. So this photo probably isn't going to work. I don't think it's got the right dimensions. So you might find that, because if I try to make that 250 by 166, I'm not going to be able to, because the photo isn't high enough. So I'm going to try a different photo. So I'm just going to shut that. And I'm going to try something else. So let's pop that one in. Let's upload. Oh, interestingly, this is the same size. So what we're going to have to do is resize the image, so we can just make it bigger and then crop it. Something that you'll probably end up having to do. So we wanted it to be 166 high. Great. And this will lock the proportions, so you won't end up skewing your photo. So this man might become really stretched. So make sure that that's locked, and it will keep the right proportions. It will just change the size. So I'm going to make the height 166, because that was the tricky variable before. And then I'm going to apply. So now that is actually the right height, but obviously, as you saw, it was too long. So we're just going to have to crop it, basically. So I'm just trying that, just cropping it. So that's almost right. Awesome. I've kind of done that by eye, but actually you should be able to, now that you've got the right height, just change the width. But make sure that keep proportions is unblocked. Otherwise, if you change that to 250, that would come down proportionately. So unclick that, change that to 250. And then let's try that, fingers crossed. Voila, so that's worked. So they're both the same size, and that's going to look really neat when you preview, so it won't be all skewed. That's brilliant. So that's the essentials of cropping the image. So just to recap, the things to remember are, you're going to need to make them the same size. So if your photo isn't big enough, say that's 140, then you need to go into the edit and start playing around with it. And you'd go to the resize. We need to start playing around with it manually. Okay, but I'm just going to cancel that because we've already got it working. You can also use like Photoshop if you know exactly what size you want it to be, but not everyone has Photoshop on their computers, and potentially that is actually an easier way to do it. But not if you don't have the software and you don't know how to use Photoshop, because obviously, as you saw, it was kind of a little bit clunky in this, but that should work. And I've done the same thing for these, and I had to play around with these a little bit more because basically I sort of started, I gave it 170, but it stretched it, and then this started to poke off, and it sort of lost the alignment, and I had to go back, change it to 160, and then change it to 150. So it only took about 10 minutes, but it was just a case of kind of tweaking. And that is the most frustrating thing about e-newsletters. They're actually really straightforward, but one of the trickier things is just kind of resizing of the images. And I made all of these square, which was actually kind of easy. And I did that through the edit, where you go to the resize. Oh, sorry, it's not the resize. It's the crop. So if you go to the crop, you press square, and then it keeps it square for you. So it will just make sure it's 150 by 150 or 170 by 170. And then again, you change the text, and then you put in the links. So that's the kind of raw basics of design. So I don't want to give you too much to go over in the one go. So this is basically e-newsletter, basic of setting up a template and editing the text of a template, editing the content and adding photos. So that's the real kind of basics of the design. And we'll go into some more of the complicated stuff in the next tutorial, but that's it for now. Just go and have a practice and play around with it and just see if you can get the hang of it.